Lazio all over the world, welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. What can we say about Lazio? Lazio is playing so well that even if Alistair go to the match, Lazio is able to win. It's unbelievable. 4 wins in a row, 5 if you consider the Coppa Italia. Alistair at the show, at the stadium, and Lazio wins. I don't know. I lost my words.
You know what? That was probably the thing I was most worried about yesterday. Was again just hearing your voice in my head when Sassuolo scored that goal. You can never go back to the stadium. It's all your fault. You're a bad luck charm. I could hear it all. I could hear it already. But thankfully, Sergej Milinkovic, Savic, and Ciro, they did it for me. I swear I saw them look up to the press box when they scored and point at me and say, "This is for you." So the run is over.
I was ready to tweet after the Caputo goal. Please kick off Alistair from the Stadio Olimpico. But yeah, we were so good that we avoided the Mackenzie curse. Finally. And Alistair, it's a very important win because it's 4 matches in a row, 5 with the Coppa Italia. We said it a couple of podcasts ago. What Lazio really needs now is a couple, 4, 5 matches win in a row that give confidence to this team, and also seeing the other teams, because this is a very difficult, a very strange season. Inter beating Juventus and then unable to beat Udinese. Napoli losing at home. A couple of strange results. So if you are able to get these wins in a row, it really changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, now Lazio have become the form team at the top of the league, which we didn't really see coming, did we, considering the way Lazio were playing. But look, we have to say, after being pretty disappointed, to say the least, about the Genoa draw at the start of January, they have actually turned a corner with the new year. They've managed to string results together. Yes, to begin with, the performances weren't all that impressive. But yesterday, I think Lazio had a much better performance than people are giving them credit for. And the Rome derby was obviously brilliant. Parma, they found a way despite having a lot of rotation. So it's been a really, really good week, Vittorio. But Atalanta is coming up, and that's going to be a real tester. The amazing thing now is there's 3-point gap between Lazio in 7th and Roma in 3rd. There's only 9 points between 1st and 7th. I mean, this season is just incredible. I mean, it's so unpredictable.
Yes, and the other thing is, Lazio got this 4 match in a row victory when probably the schedule was more complicated. We played against Parma, that is a team that struggled, but there was the derby in between, and Roma was, third in the table, so it was considered a tough team. Sassuolo is one of the most dangerous teams you can play against, and when Lazio had easy matches, we remember October, November, we said now Lazio could win 5 matches in a row easily, Sampdoria, Udinese, blah, 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 blah. Lazio didn't, and now when it's get complicated, we are able to win. So what this tells you, Alistair?
Well, I mean, the first thing, I guess, is what something we already knew, which is the Lazio are better this season in big games than they are in small games or against mid-table teams or lower teams in the table. So it wasn't, in that case, a huge surprise to see the Roma result being a much better performance, because they have lifted the level, against Dortmund, against Zenit in the Champions League, and against Napoli, and they have been up for it in those big games. I think what's really encouraging is to see them finding a way against Parma and against Fiorentina, and yesterday against Sassuolo. Sassuolo, like you said, that I was a bit worried. Like I said in our Patreon video last night, going into this, even though Lazio were in good form, with the loss of Alberto out of nowhere, with his appendicitis and Luis Felipe having ankle surgery, it would have been quite easy for the high from the derby to suddenly turn into a bit of concern, because the squad, especially when Alberto's gone, suddenly looks a bit weak. But yeah, I mean, I thought that they reacted brilliantly last night. They started terribly. I mean, the opening 5 or 6 minutes, Sassuolo could have been about 3-0 up.
Yes.
But the response was really good.
Yeah, it looks like they weren't focused for the match. They weren't prepared. They show up 10 minutes later. You talked about Luis Alberto. Were you surprised to see Akpa Pro starting in place of Luis Alberto? Were you expecting Andres Pereira there, or knowing Inzaghi, you weren't surprised at all?
Well, that's the thing. I think we've learned by now never to expect Pereira. I don't think Pereira is expecting Pereira to be picked anymore. I don't know. I guess Akpa Pro played well in midweek, didn't he, in the Coppa Italia game?
Yes.
I think you picked him out for praise after that match. So I think he deserves it, doesn't he? I mean, and Inzaghi said that after the game, I believe, as well. Is that, you know, he's earned the trust he's got because the way he's played has been impressive so far. But it is a different kind of player, isn't it? I mean, I think that's where Pereira will be disappointed, is that he's probably been waiting for this kind of opportunity. And then when it comes, Inzaghi prefers to go for a guy who's got a different skill set.
Now, one thing I thought yesterday was that with a team like Sassuolo that likes to press very high, you probably need a more qualitative midfielder, because if you're able to bypass the high pressing of Sassuolo, then you can really be dangerous. And so that's why I thought, and we saw it especially in the first half, I thought Akpa Pro in the first half struggled. Then when Lazio start finding a way to pass Sassuolo, he improved. I thought Pereira in the first half could have been interesting solution, but you know, knowing Inzaghi, I'm not surprised. He took it. You know, the safe solution probably was for him.
Well, one of the questions we got here was from Cilla Lazio, and they say, seeing as though Inzaghi prefers Akpa Pro, do you think it'd be better to cut short Pereira's stay and free up a spot in the squad? You know, meaning this month, send him back to Man United. What do you think about that?
Wow. No, definitely no. I think, you know, he's a very talented player, so I think having him in the squad is really important for the team. I think we're going to talk about the defender later because, as you mentioned, Luis Felipe had surgery. The question mark when he's going to be back. People say he's going to be back in able to play the last 9 matches of the season. So there's question there if Lazio need to sign someone. But I don't think that sending back Andrea Pereira could be a solution. For example, I think Wednesday against Atalanta, he could play, he could start, because we're going to play Atalanta twice. Coppa Italia, quarterfinals, very important. So you have to rotate, but obviously you cannot expect Raul Moro to start, for example. You have to have quality players there. And I think Andrea Pereira is the perfect solution for that match. So no, definitely no. I mean, I would prefer to, you know, put out of the list Marco Parolo, for example, more than. I know Inzaghi don't agree with me, but you know, it would make more sense for me. He's playing more defender than his original position. So you know, if you sign a defender, you don't need Parolo anymore.
You mean goal-scoring hero Parolo from the Parma game?
Again, what an assist from Andreas Pereira there.
True. Yeah. No. I mean, I am not being serious. I think that Pereira has shown that he has enough ability to be an important player this season if he only gets the opportunity. So I'd say if we're looking to free up space in the squad, that's not the area that we need to get rid of players, or certainly not the player you want to be cutting, because you know these things might happen from now to the end of the season, losing players like Alberto. When you think about the creative attacking players in this team, the quality can drop quite quickly once you lose some key players. So it's quite useful to have someone like him sitting there ready to go rather than, like you say, Marco Parolo.
Yep, no, definitely. We have to say that Milinkovic Savic has stepped up. We saw him playing in a very defensive position this year. Obviously, without Luis Alberto, things changed. And I'm not talking about only the goal he scored, but his performance overall. He was more attacking position, and we saw the difference, I thought.
I thought he was brilliant yesterday. I thought he was man of the match for me, and he really kind of led by example. It's in these games, without Alberto there, that you need Milinkovic to step up and be the focal point of that midfield. I feel like he was being used a bit differently. He was pushing forwards a bit more freely because that pro wasn't being asked to be operating in the final third quite as much. And yeah, I thought it was brilliant. Some of the touches, he was clearly confident. You can tell when his confidence and his tail is up. And some of the touches and the passes he makes are incredible to see. And then the goal he scored. I mean, this is the thing. I read yesterday that that's the 10th headed goal he's scored since he was at Lazio, and no midfielder's done better. I can't remember if there's any midfielder, presumably midfielder. But I was thinking as soon as that goal went in that is a classic example of a goal that you feel like he should be scoring all the time, but that he actually doesn't really score. I mean, there was the one against Atalanta in the cup final, but I can't really remember. Is it just me being stupid and I can't remember these goals? Or
Well, you're stupid. We know it. You don't have to make me these assists because it was too easy. It was a tap-in, open goal. But I think we talked about it already in the podcast. I think in the last 6 months, Luis Alberto corner kicks have been awful, have been really awful. This was a strength of Lazio 1 year ago, and now has become a sort of weaknesses. I think team against Lazio prefer to give corner kicks to Lazio because they know that Luis Alberto is going to try to score from the corner kick directly, and it's going to be useless. It's not a coincidence that Luis Alberto is not there, and Lazio has been really, really dangerous on corner kick. The other thing is, the solution we saw very often is one on the first post, deflect the ball. On the second post, there is Immobile. We never saw it put the ball in the box in the middle for Acerbi, Milinkovic Savic, Luis Felipe. Never. That was the first time. And it drives me crazy because we can say a lot of things, but Lazio has a lot of, now especially, a lot of quality players, very good with the header. Milinkovic Savic, Acerbi, Luis Felipe, Murici, etc. And we never put the ball in the box on the corners.
Yeah, and it was Correa, wasn't it, who put the corner in. So, yeah, that's quite interesting, I thought. It's a good point. It's as much about the delivery as it is about getting him in those positions. There are other moments in the game as well where you could see him absolutely screaming at, whether it was one moment where it was Stefan Radu and he was really angry that Radu hadn't got the ball to him as quickly as he would have liked. And he was kind of constantly trying to get those mismatches against the Sassuolo defence, kind of getting in at the back post or trying to get in against a guy who's smaller than him. But yeah, I mean, once Murici comes on as well, and you're looking at those guys out there, you're thinking, God, I mean, just throw the ball forward because they're two absolute giants.
By the way, in the Coppa Italia, who takes the corner of the Milinkovic Savic goal? Lucas Leiva. Luis Alberto just came off. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah, good point, actually. Well, maybe that's something to think about when Luis Alberto returns.
Yeah, we have to talk with Simone Inzaghi. I hope he's listening to our podcast. The other thing, Alistair, I don't think it's a coincidence. 5 match won in a row, 4 in the Serie A, 5 assists from our wingers. This time it wasn't Lazzari, it was Marusic. I think it's not a coincidence that Lazio have a winning streak because the wingers finally provide assists.
True. I think yesterday again they were both very kind of proactive in an attacking sense. I think they were relied upon even more than usual maybe to provide in the attacking third. Yeah, Marisic's assist was very good actually, and I thought he had quite a good game. Maybe it's a case of Senad Lulic coming back, and suddenly everybody has to pull themselves together and fight for their places a bit more. Nothing like a bit of healthy competition for places, but yeah, no, that's true. That's been an important part of Lazio's success in recent games. And you know, I thought Immobile didn't have a particularly good game yesterday, to be honest. Took his goal very well, but I wasn't otherwise too impressed with him. And same goes for Correa. So it's good to see that even in these matches, I mean, Immobile will still score, obviously, because he's Immobile, but even in matches where the front two aren't doing particularly well, Lazio are still creating a hell of a lot of chances through the midfield and through the wing backs and threatening. I mean, they had 12 efforts on goal in the first half. Yes, the number of them on target, I think, was 3, so that can be improved, but it was good to see that they were, finding routes to goal without relying on the front two being in incredible form.
Talking about Ciro Immobile, Inzaghi said something very interesting after the match. He said that Ciro Immobile was injured. He played through the pain. I think he didn't train the day before the Coppa Italia. So, unfortunately, we have some problems there. But as you were saying, even when he playing bad, well, we know why he was injured. He still find a way to score. And to be honest, it wasn't an easy goal. It wasn't a tap-in. It was quite difficult. But yeah, Inzaghi said that Lazio had a couple of players that weren't 100%, and they had to play throughout the injury because, yeah, we didn't have that many options. So this is a question mark going further, but at the same time tells you, the temperature of this team. How we always say it's a family, etc. But Lazio probably really are a family.
Yeah, and what did you think about Patrick? Because, I mean, I know everyone loves to talk about Patrick. He's this kind of enigma that obsesses Lazio fans. But I've seen him getting quite a lot of abuse, quite a lot of criticism for yesterday. Do you think it's deserved?
No, I don't think he did anything that bad, honestly. I was quite surprised to see him coming off, and especially Parolo coming in. But that's another discussion.
He's on a yellow card, that's why.
yeah, probably that's the reason. I was surprised to see him coming off, and we know that, if you have to complain about someone, you always go on Patrick. Maybe Murici can be the new Patrick going forward. We don't know. But yeah, these are the players Lazio fans love to complain, and Strakosha, obviously.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, you mentioned Murici. We did get a question about from Philip Pissan asking if we're still concerned about Murici. And I know we talk about this all the time, but we've not actually spoken since his game against Parma, so I think it's probably worth touching on again. I thought Vittorio Parma game by far the best example we've seen of him actually looking like he's understanding how the team plays, and vice versa. The team is understanding how to use him a bit better. It was, I think, a really encouraging performance, even though he missed a couple of good chances. I think the thing I was most encouraged by was just that they seemed to get it a bit more. He looked a bit more comfortable in the system.
I don't know if he missed some chances. I read Lazio fan complaining, saying that the time he hit the post in the first half was a missed chance. I don't agree on that. But yeah,
well, it didn't go in. So
yeah, but it was, he did his best there. So I don't think he wasted a chance. He was unlucky, but I think we saw improvement. And even yesterday when he came in, he looked like a better player. Now there are rumors that he will start Wednesday against Atalanta, which I think makes totally sense. And seeing how he's playing, this gave me confidence, especially because Atalanta is a very slow defense, but we have to see who plays there because I think again Murici can be very dangerous on Wednesday.
Yeah, and I hope he can build that momentum. I thought even yesterday he was pretty useful coming off the bench right at the end of that game. Things were getting quite frantic. You know, it was all afternoon there had been a lot of problems with the referee, who I thought managed the game very badly, and there was quite a lot of frustration as well at the end of the match with how that was being handled. But I thought what Murici did really well, and where we saw that he can be useful as well, is that he came on and offered that kind of totemic target man option to get them out of trouble. And he was really good at winning free kicks, taking the pressure off, and helping them through that period. Because I don't think any of us kind of been particularly comfortable watching the final 5 minutes or so of that game. And even if he's not coming on and lighting the world on fire and scoring amazing goals, I think that's still an important role to be able to play for the team. You know, that kind of sacrifice and intelligence to know what was needed at that moment. So I think that now, you know, if he does play in the cup, it would be a great time for him to put in another big performance and actually start to show that he deserves to start. Because let's be honest, Vittorio, if Lazio paid 20 million for him, he should be starting. He should be a player who's going straight in that team, not the fourth choice option that he's been so far.
Against Parma, he scored a great goal. Let's not forget the header at the end. It's from 12 meters. It's not easy to get that power on that soft assist from Acerbi. So I thought that was a great goal. Definitely, we want to see more. It's even true that he's been injured, had COVID-19, etc., etc. So he needs to get back in shape. I don't think he's the fourth option anymore. But I don't think the plan was him to be the starter close to Ciro Immobile. He can play with Ciro Immobile, but I think he can replace Ciro Immobile. So, and I mean, I always would start Ciro if nothing bad happens to him. So, again, I think against Atalanta on Wednesday, he will start and Ciro would rest. Let's see how things go. I think now he's fit, now he's ready, his confidence is up. So I think we can see now how good Murici is.
I hope so. What about the defence? We've had a couple of questions about this with Luis Felipe out injured. We've all of a sudden been flooded with transfer rumours and people saying that various players are on their way to Lazio, as usually happens. Felipe Pizzano again asked us which defender would we realistically like to arrive this market, and Rami said, what if, and it is a big possibility to happen, we don't buy any defender to replace Felipe, how would we then play against Bayern?
With 11 players.
11 Patricks.
If we can. But the clone machine still is not working, so only one Patrick, unfortunately.
But I mean, what do you think does happen here? It was interesting to see Vavro reintegrated into the team against Parma, kind of, for 2 minutes at the end. I thought that was a real missed opportunity. I could not for the life of me understand why Inzaghi didn't start Vavro, didn't give Armini a chance. I mean, but is it a case of just, you know, Felipe out, Vavro in? There's your January transfer market, or do you think they should really be investing?
The problem is, number-wise, Lazio has 6 central defenders, which if you play with a 3-5-2, you need 6 defenders. The problem is, for Inzaghi, there are 4, because Vavro and Armini doesn't exist. I mean, Vavro came in the last minute of the Coppa Italia. Armini didn't come in. Yesterday, Parolo comes in. No chance for for Armini. Vavro has been sent to the Primavera squad on Saturday. He didn't play bad, even though I read articles saying that Vavro was a disaster. He saved a ball on the line. So, and I saw the match. Lazio Primavera is terrible, but apart from that, so this tells me Inzaghi said, look, You can train with the Primavera. I don't need you. So even though Lazio has 6 defender, realistic for Inzaghi there are 4. So we need someone. Parolo is probably the 5th. So it would be good to sign someone. The other question is, and people don't understand sometimes. Okay, we signed, I don't know, there were the rumors of Socrates who finished back in Greece. But if you sign Socrates, you take off Luis Felipe, and then what happened? When Luis Felipe come back, who do you take off? You take off Socrates that you just signed. Doesn't make sense. So I think the only realistic thing is, or he takes off Parolo, which we all know that it's not going to happen, even because Parolo is one of the Italian players. So you have 4 and you need them. So you cannot take off Parolo. The only chance is signing under 22. So we need to find someone. There were rumors of Todibo, but the question is, and this is why Inzaghi is not convinced, is that he hasn't played that much. So he's coming to Rome and he's not ready to play. So we need someone now, not in 10 weeks, because in 10 weeks, hopefully, Luis Felipe will be back. So we need someone ready, under 22, so it's not easy.
Yeah, and the other thing is they need to be right-footed. This is the other issue we've suddenly got, is that Inzaghi's not able to play a back three. When you're talking about him having 4 defenders, basically, 3 of them are left-footed, and we can't really play a back three of Acerbi, Hut, and Radu, because one of them is going to be very uncomfortable if they're playing on the right. The other problem is the option of reintegrating Vavro. That's kind of gone as well, because the reason he's in this situation in the first place is that Inzaghi doesn't think he can play on the right. That's where he was a disaster. The more encouraging performances he put in were in the centre, but with Acerbi and Hope being the 2 options there, he's not really going to get a game there. So at the moment, the only options to play on the right without Felipe are Patrick and Parolo. Those have become the 2 right centre-back options now for Inzaghi, and that is a concern. That has to be a big concern with so many games yet to come this season. Rami mentions the Bayern Munich game. Well, yeah, they're going to look at that as a weakness to exploit. Because, I mean, as commendable as those players can be, they're not of that level, and they're not naturally used to playing in that position either.
On the official channel of Lazio yesterday, a journalist asked to Inzaghi, "What about Marusic playing there?" And Inzaghi said, "No, I don't think about Marusic there. I don't think he's the right player. He's already very useful on the wingers, both left and right. So Marusic is out. He could be useful because obviously he's a right foot player, so he can play in that position. So yeah, at the moment, Armini could play there, but Inzaghi will never test him, and so it's a waste of time. But yeah, Armini could be the solution there, but you have to test him. So what's going to happen realistic for me? Tare is going to try to find a player under 22. He's going to find it, and the end date is going to expire, and so we're not going to sign it. But we were close.
Yeah, so optimistic.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just find it really hard to believe the Lazio will sign anyone. Talking under 22 players, one of the other ones we've been asked about was Philip Pizzano again, who's on fire with the questions this week, asking if we're at risk of losing Raul Moro, which has been a kind of rumour, I guess, that started going around in the last couple of weeks. I mean, the guy is still just 18, Vittorio. He can't be expecting to be starting in this team by now, but I remember when I wrote an article about him last year, there was a quote saying that one of the reasons that he signed for Lazio over Chelsea was that there was a route to the first team in Lazio. Now, 2 years isn't that long, but he would have probably expected to get a bit more chance than he has in 2 years.
Yeah, and if I'm not wrong, even Adekanye said that, right? One of the reasons why Adekanye came to Lazio was because Tare promised him chance play time in the first squad, which we have to be honest, Adekanye played more than Raul Moro, but things didn't go very well. So I was surprised to not see Raul Moro in the players call for the Coppa Italia, but he's injured. He didn't play even in the Primavera, so that was a missed opportunity that, you cannot say it's Inzaghi's fault. But yeah, the player definitely has talent. I think he's wasted in the Primavera. He's so better than the other players of his age. He needs to play in the first squad. Now, the biggest problem is, to be honest with you, is that, okay, if Inzaghi had only four strikers, four forwards, you can think that Raul Moro is the fifth, because you had Murici, Immobile, Caicedo, and Correa. So, he could be the fifth option. But now we're seeing that Andreas Pereira, it's probably the fifth option. So this means that Raul Moro now it's the sixth option. I mean, Lazio had a lot of injury problems, but to think that six strikers could be injured at the same time, one, Marco Parolo would be playing striker for sure. So Marco Parolo would become seventh option. And two, it's very hard to believe, right?
Yeah, Luis Alberto as well would be moved up there before Moro.
Milinkovic Savic eventually.
Yeah.
We can play Parolo, Milinkovic Savic. I can.
Bastos can come back and. It's something that is quite frustrating, to be honest. I guess without the Europa League, we don't get many opportunities though, and Inzaghi, for whatever reason, he is now a coach who's terrified of taking these kind of risks. He's terrified of trying out the unknown, of trying out whether it's new signings, whether it's young players. He's scared of doing it. And without the opportunity to, I guess, have kind of free shots in Europa League group stage games, we just don't have those matches anymore. Parma was the only match this season that you could maybe regard as being less important, and he still wouldn't play Armini, he still wouldn't play Vavro, he still wanted Marco Parolo and Francesco Acerbi to start.
And Parma had like 2 or 3 born in 2003, right? So this is really pissed me off. I mean, if Parma can do it, how bad must Armini be if he's not able to play? I mean, so yeah, it's ridiculous. Now, I have to be honest, watching Lazio Primavera, you can understand that he's a little bit skeptical on testing other players. But Armini has been called in the Italian national team under 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Could it be that all the Italian managers are crazy? Or, maybe Armini has something. I'm not saying he's the new Nesta, far from that. But maybe, better than Marco Parolo? Could be, right?
Well, yeah, we'll never know. And, the same thing will happen. He'll end up getting farmed out to Salernitana for a season. We'll hardly get any games, and we'll end up, he'll end up playing at Virtus Entella or something. I mean, it's the same kind of route that seems to happen to a lot of these players, whether it's Lombardi or Tunkara or whoever it is. It seems to be an ongoing theme that they don't get the chances and end up drifting.
Yeah, by the way, Salernitana signed both Durmisi and King. I mean, if they're not winning the Serie B like that, I don't understand. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Durmisi, look, how has he ended up in Serie B? Honestly, it's
unbelievable.
Crazy. It's crazy to think that this has happened, but it goes to show that Tare, the way he's spent cash in the last few years has been not that impressive, really, with a few exceptions. Anyway, before we wrap up, final question. We've got Atalanta twice in the next week, Vittorio. Once in the Cup quarterfinals, once in Serie A. They're both up in Bergamo. Tom asked us, if you could choose one, would you rather beat Atalanta in the Cup or advance to the semis against Spezia or Napoli? Or would you rather beat them in the league, gaining 3 points against a direct competitor for the Champions League? Quite an easy choice, surely.
Yeah, if possible, in Coppa Italia with a handball of bastos, if possible. We just sign him for that match and score with a handball, please.
That wasn't really the answer I was expecting.
Well, I think in the league you have still time to recover. So, you take him off the Coppa Italia, and let's start from that.
See, I disagree. I think the league game is huge. I think it would be such a big moment for the season to beat Atalanta in Serie A and reduce that gap, especially given the run they're on. They've just hammered AC Milan on the weekend 3-0, and that no one's really been doing that this season. It was the biggest defeat of the season. So they're in really good form, and that's a test of where Lazio are at. I'd say it's probably a game between the two most informed teams in the league, isn't it? I mean, if you take away maybe Inter, maybe even more so than Inter, but in the last few matches. So this has become a kind of rivalry, though, hasn't it? Italia. The last few years,
especially for Gasperini, right?
Yeah. But I went up to Bergamo for the Liverpool game earlier this season, and walking to the stadium is really odd because, there's graffiti all over the walls saying Lazio merda, and I was kind of thinking it's kind of strange to see that. I thought Brescia were your rivals. What is all this? And loads of these messages, anti-Lazio messages everywhere.
This has been Gasperini writing on the walls. Anyway, well, my option, and I said it before we start the podcast, we have to win both. But if I have to choose, I think Coppa Italia could be a big boost of confidence for Lazio, especially if Murici score, So, Alice, I think we can wrap it up here. We are being late, and we have Coppa Italia coming up. So it's going to be another busy week. Unfortunately, we're going to see very often.
Yep. Lots of football to look forward to. So let's hope for let's hope for a Murici hat trick this time.
Definitely. And continuing the winning streak even with you. You're not going to Bergamo, right?
No, I'm staying here. Don't worry.
Okay. So we have a chance, guys. Thank you again for listening, guys. Remember, you can subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, and on our YouTube channel. And if you want to support the podcast, remember, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. And please visit our store. We have new t-shirt. The last one is Era un amichevole, all dedicated to Rizzitelli. So have a go, and good night, everybody.